Will she stay alive for Team Chronicles? She won't. She is going down even into the adrenaline, and we have 4 stages so far. If these survivors manage to get out of the door here, there would be the win for Chronicles. Unexpected, given how well the Blight played so far. But these two teams, both very efficient, and he's missing. That could even be a hatch play queue.
Hey, what it do? It's your boy Q, and welcome back to YouTube. And holy cow, is Blood Moon League continuing to bring us some spicy gameplay, and we aren't even through the group stages yet. We're seeing some really tight matchups, and this past week was absolutely no different. In Group H, we saw Chronicles and Survive with Bots need to run things back in their very first set of their very first matchup of the tournament. And with these two teams being in a group with teams like Trauma and Reverse, there is no room to get caught lacking in any given set, let alone any given matchup. So we're going to be getting started off with the Blight on the Blood Lodge, then slowing things down just a little bit for set number 2, moving to the Suffocation Pit for the Plague. And when we do eventually go into that third and decisive set, because we are going to need it, we're going to be seeing the Nurse on the Coal Tower. Don't forget to do the YouTube things. Every like, comment, share helps us out with that good old YouTube algorithm, and we are chasing down 500 subscribers over here on the channel by the end of the summer here. So don't forget to make sure you're subscribed, and then tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody about it. If you want to keep up with what the Wolfpack has going on as far as like competitive DBD, I'm gonna have their Discord as well as their live stream link down in the description below. All right. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get down to some Chronicles versus Survive with Bots action. And until we catch y'all back over here on the YouTube, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love harder. All right, y'all? It's your boy Q, signing out. All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog. Well, I guess technically our first trip here into the fog on this very beautiful, at least afternoon, evening here for some of our viewers as well. We see quickly moving up into our corrupt side of our map here is Gambitor. We see coming in with the corrupt, of course, with the ruin as well. Hasn't been able to find anybody just quite yet. Gonna be interested to see if our survivors have been able to kind of push up into the map. It's one thing that I have really liked about Blood Lodge compared to, as you had mentioned before we got into the trial, right? Suffocation Pit. Without that little choke point, it kind of allows for a little bit more of the mind game in the early portion of the trial of where they go to actually get started on the gens, right?
Yeah, it allows a little bit more of the mind gaming, and the survivors need to be careful as well when exactly they're coming out aggressive here. However, Massive Daddy is playing this jungle gym here really safe, dropping the pallet early, making sure that there's not an immediate injury coming out. Our killer needs to work around that, and so far he's not finding the injury. Once again, 4 token need to come back here, so this is going to be difficult, and our survivors already punishing that with the first generator in the distance there. We're 90 seconds into the trial, so they might even pop another one if they've split up individually here.
Yeah, and I do really like, here you can see, ooh, gets done stupid, says Arnia, adding +10 wood to the face. You'll see, you know, sometimes we'll see teams come in, try and take care of the middle gen right away, but what we actually see from our survivors here is they've already broken up the 3 gen that was over on that shack side of the map. Now going to be finding the tag here onto Arnia, so now you've at least started to get a little bit of the progress going as far as your game plan. You've got 5% slowdown from the Thananophobia. Unfortunately, the ruin's gone. The corrupt intervention just off of our gens here as well, so really needing to start establishing some downs. Not sure if we're able to get that first down. Not sure if we go for the slug here or if we just go with our first hook.
It's going to be an interesting decision here for our killer. Skyraiser will be hooked behind the main building here, so this is going to be the first stage coming out, and this is a good location, right? You can make that work for yourself, especially when you manage to keep the survivors over here, when you are able to go for some pressure here. But yeah, it is going to be interesting how this is played out, because our killer is definitely under pressure here. The first hook stage for 2 generators exchanged is far away from the start you're looking for, and now both survivors will be able to make it towards the midsection. The third generator is popping off in the distance. This is good for our Blight, though. He still has kind of a setup here towards the top side, but
she selects him with the D!
this is going to really hurt our killer here. And there's a for the people play as well. The survivor you could tunnel out is now safe, at least for 2 health states, and will work his way all the way towards the bottom here secure. This is not looking good for Chronicles at all.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Survive with Bots did a fantastic job. You get those 3 gens done, so that way you put Gambitor here into a decision. Do I take Chase into a part of the map where there's nothing for me to defend? Or do I break Chase and come back and defend the gens? We see we've come back over here. We hear this generator by Funbus. That thing's knocking like a Ford in the middle of the winter. That thing's just about ready to go. We've got 2 survivors over here. One of them was the Atom, who did rotate back towards main. We still see Dwight over here now going to be dropping the pallet, trying to go for the dumb tech, although Gambitor does know better than that. Is going to be able to get around, gets the M1 at this point. I would imagine we're going to be seeing Dwight now, rotating back towards our shack. The way we're going to see most of our survivors doing from now, which means the pressure really being on. Oh, and you're able to force the pallet break, and you're now moving into the TNL. Dwight with the juice right now, but now going down this back corner.
And this back corner here, it's good for our down, but if you take a look onto the generators here, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that our survivor team actually didn't play like bots, or didn't seem to play with bots, because they're doing a fantastic job here, dragging the killer away from the objectives. We do have a 3-gen here on the top side. That's a nice triangle around the main building. The issue is, if you don't have the injuries and the hook stage over here, this setup cannot really be used in your favor, and this is exactly the issue. Also, once the Blight is leaving here, a very perfectly timed unhook across the way behind the Funbus here. So this is going to be even more tricky, and the reset as well. So 4 healthy with just 2 hook stages so far will now be able to attack this triangle here on the top side. They are really organized, really coordinated as well. And our Blight, unfortunately, once again not able to find the survivor here. 2 survivors in the midsection are leaving early as well. I think right now you can really tell how on point our survivor team is playing, and how their coordination is really going to reward them.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where we just see the survivors playing so well, and what it ends up doing is it really restricts what Gambitor here has helping them as far as their kit, right? You haven't been able to get too many consecutive tags across the board, so you've got limited Thanatophobia value. We're talking about 2 downs or 2 hooks thus far, so you haven't really gotten much value from the Pop Goes the Weasel either. This is one of those builds where if we're at this point in the trial, we were talking about 5, 6, 7 hooks, we'd be seeing so much more value out of those 2 perks. But since our survivor squad has done so good about making sure they're pre-leaving, making sure that they're rotating in for those the heals as well, honestly, they're just putting so much pressure onto our killer.
It's going to, and I wouldn't even be surprised if our 2 survivors here would leave once again and go for a reset. And this is exactly what we see to happen here. Skyraiser, and I'm really confident that Nova is going to do the same. They're receiving a full reset and coming in once again, because right now, when a trial is taking longer in comparison to normal matches, it mostly goes into advantage of one side, and in this case right here, it is going to be the survivor team that is earning time, because the killer needs additional stages here. He will get more nervous when he sees a coordinated and very efficient survivor team, and as long as they are not taking the injuries or any downs up here, there's nothing really our killer can put up to make them really struggle.
Yeah, I mean, we see even here again, right? You're able to get the tag, but all Adam does is just gumps it up towards the shack, gives us time and space to be able to get generator number 5 done, right? Now we're moving through the middle of the map. We've exposed the perk. Nothing here as far as for the end game. No way out. No way. I would more than likely guarantee that we had one of our survivors already setting up on a door, probably over here at this 9 position. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that door open in here in the next 3 seconds and we're seeing 4 survivors push. Maybe I don't know anything. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be a bit more tricky outside. You're not able to find the survivors. They seem to take it slow once again, and then one is on the other door.
The 12 door, yeah.
And this is a really, really good move here. And the other door immediately attacked once the Blight is rotating over here. Once again, perfect coordination, perfect efficiency on the side of the survivor. There's not much you can do when they are playing like this. And this was one of the most beautiful survivor performances. And if this is the show off into the hatch, that would be incredible.
But now we see here rotating back towards, we haven't been able to make, now we're actually away from the door. I'm actually wondering if maybe this was just unfortunately got caught out of position, because we see not going to really be able to make a move right now. Gambitor doing a good job of just kind of using line of sight and just making sure that they can keep the survivors zoned out here. Nice job. I'm not sure if that was a Lithe used to be able to build some distance for at least a little bit closer here. The only problem though is Adam is injured.
A very, very important standoff. Massive Daddy, the guy that started this match with the pallet stun, is now trapped here at this car. And if the endgame collapse is coming through, there would still be all points being awarded. So this will be big for Chronicles, because you need these stages, right? You need the points, you need the swing a little bit into your favor there. But our killer is staying calm here to the very end, which is impressive considering how much the survivor team was doing so far here. This is now going to be the vault into the down, and this seems like Adam accepted what is going to wait for him. And this is the hook leading into hook stage number 3, 4, and 5 here. So 5 stages, a little bit of a better result compared to the mid game here, yet it is going to be quite a difficult game for Chronicles survivors.
Yeah, it's going to, I mean, you're talking about really limiting the stages. And though, I mean, at least the good news for you is you're able to get the one fresh out the door as far as in this situation. So maybe you can at least, maybe if you're able to get to, you play a little bit more patient, maybe you rotate, was it that second hook that wasn't on the elimination onto a second survivor, so you get a second out the door. It could be a play, but it's definitely a lot of pressure, right?
It is going to be quite some pressure, and I think Survive with Bots is exactly having the performance right now they want, right? Because they're new in these tournaments here. They play the first time in a tournament of the Wolfpack. They are new on the international stage here. And when you then start your first game in the group stage for them with a 5-stage performance on the Blight and S-tier killer, that makes you feel really, really good. So we do see them taking the lead, 17 points. Chronicles is taking 13 here. We are staying on the Blood Lodge set, or trial number 2 in set number 1 on the Blight is going to come out in a short moment. And we are back for the second trial between Survive with Bots and Chronicles. And you do see the killer's name. Sophia is coming out hard, Daphne, and we do want to clear up a possible confusion there. This Daphne from Survive with Bots is not the wonderful Daphne that is in our staff team casting and hosting with us. We are very sure though that this Daphne from Survive with Bots is as wonderful as our DBE version. Ace is in the first chase here, going towards the corrupted area. Very, very good idea so far, because you do drag the killer away from the active generators. Now behind main, we do see that there are some active objectives, but it won't matter too much because our survivors will be at the midsection. And this is a very, very nice juke coming out here. And this is kind of what you need with this win condition.
Oh, and unfortunately not going to be able to make connection. I was hoping maybe the Blight might be able to just bump his nose a little bit to be able to continue that run. Not going to be the case. So we see this go and get stunned, stupid, says the Ace. Now going to be building distance towards the main building. Not sure they're going to be able to get to safety or not. However, they do get a baited swing and miss here. This is big because this pallet is still in play. We'll be able to keep the aggro back on this side of the map. We are around that 100-second mark here, so wouldn't be surprised to see that second gen popping relatively soon, able to make the connection at least this time. There is generator number 2 at least, but if we stay with our aggro in this corner, this could really allow us to surrender a lot of our map.
And yeah, it's a first down that is still coming in quite quickly, right? 2 minutes into the trial here. 2 generators. So Chronicles is as efficient as Survive with Bots in trial number 1 here. So this also tells us about this match that we have to expect 2 teams that are not wasting any seconds on the generators here. And that will make things really, really intense. The unhook is coming through. Now our survivor will try to go down towards the midsection. Not dropping the pallet though. Might be a little bit too greedy here, but he is not going to find the down here. Our survivor will be still able to go towards the bottom there, and this is really, really important because this 3-gen in line here, almost like the cold tower one, needs to be broken as soon as possible. Interesting here, we see the eruption coming in, so now anytime we have a down, it's going to be a little bit of regression there. An interesting perk that was originally introduced by Benny Boy from Unbroken in 1736, but this is going to be another very, very important resource that is leaving the trial here. So our Blight, even though he's not finding hook stage number 2 so far, is doing some work towards the end game.
Yeah, we talk about removing those resources, definitely a good thing to keep a note of. The only problem, though, as the resources are getting surrendered, unfortunately, what's not getting surrendered, thus far at least, has been hook states. We're talking about only at hook state number 2. We are getting a little bit of value from that eruption across the way there. Interesting to see that perk being brought into this situation here. This is going to be another hook state number 2. It is another fresh hook, which is important because when we had seen last time, now if you just get the last third fresh hook in an end game and are able to camp out that survivor, that is your time condition.
This is going to be a very, very interesting choice also Chronicles has to make here, right? Because it's going to be the question, is a tie enough for now? We want to run the things back, want to play Bloodlodge Blight one more time here, trying to get a better result. Or are we going all in, going for the save here? But if that ends in a trade, potentially losing the game. However, they have to crank through 2 additional objectives here anyway. There's 1 generator at the bottom side, but the 3-gen still in play here, and that is a beautiful hit onto our Nia. So that is going to be an injury next to the potential tunnel onto the lorry, and we do see that great choice in my opinion, because the map here is quite open and will allow at least the BT hit into additional mending. We have this filler pallet dropped here, but apart from this filler pallet, there won't be much our survivor can work with. Breaking the pallet now with the power. Nia receives a very quick reset though. Makes me think that 3 survivors are currently working on this 3-gen at the top side, and our Blight is forced to go back. So nothing is guaranteed here in this match so far. It could switch either side.
Oh no, and we actually came over here to this gen to check on it. We saw the aura because we know that that was the gen that we had previously kicked, but nobody's over there. That's time unfortunately wasted. We are going to be now at least checking on the other gen, not seeing too much progress. So they have played themselves into this 3-gen up along the top side here. I'm guessing they're probably getting a quick reset with their homie Lori back here on the backside of this map, because we are at a portion where we don't really have the ability to give up really much health. I mean, if you hand over a hook state at this point, you need to make sure you get that save. And with very little progress amongst any of those 3 gens, we know we're quite a bit away from worrying about the end game yet.
Now finding the next down onto Silent there, but this is not the optimal hook location. We have kind of the same issue as before, the 3-gen being really strong, but you need the hook location close to it, and this is going to be in time. The interruption on the generator here, but it's only a few percentage of progress. Makes me wonder about the one on the top right side there, but we do need some progress onto these generators by Chronicles here. The efficiency lacking a little bit towards the late mid game here, and they need to make sure that they do get out this generator as quick as possible, because we have only 2 more stages for the win here.
Unfortunate collision here. Not going to be able to make the collision over by our tractor, so we are going to actually break away from our chase there. I wanted to point out here, as far as with the lorry going up for hook stage number 2, a little unfortunate because that was already a second stage. You would have kind of liked to have maybe gotten a third fresh hook in that situation. That way you don't really have to worry about a play across the way as far as endgame. But with Claudette here, this is one of your survivors that has not been hooked yet. So this is going to be a fresh hook. This is going to be across the map though, so you are pulled quite away from that top generator there, from any of those top generators there. But it is a blight, so you can at least close the distance. Plus you got a little help on top left from that eruption here as well. So honestly, loving to see the value of the eruption pop Fana here in the end game if we can continue to collect these hook states.
Yeah, it is, and it's a good trade for our killer considering the win condition, right? Because now you have your 5 stages, so the next stage is going to make the decision here, and you are still with the generator and you have a high mobility towards the end game. So committing to 1 survivor will actually bring you the win here. So I understand why you went all the way towards the bottom side there. As you mentioned, it is a good job by the killers so far. Ace is leaving early, but our blight is... what was that? Is that a new... Don't tell me that's a new bug on Blight.
I haven't seen that before, so I'm not really sure. Maybe just happened to have a little gum stuck on the shoe. I'm not exactly sure. We do see though we've been able to find a survivor though up here at this top right corner of the map. This is our lorry here as well. This would be big. This would be that elimination here, which would now turn it into a 3v1, especially if you could manage to get yourself a relatively quick hook, I should say.
Now Lori here getting another tag. 2 survivors injured. 10% of slowdown coming in. Will she stay alive? For Team Chronicles, she won't. She is going down even into the adrenaline, and we have 4 stages so far. If these survivors manage to get out of the door here, there would be the win for Chronicles. Unexpected, given how well the Blight played so far. But these 2 teams, both very efficient, and he's missing. That could even be a hatch play queue. That is the possibility. She might get the hatch. The door is open. Is this going to be the escape on 3 survivors? That's going to be the question. 1 out of the door there, scoreless. What is going to be with the others? Are they going to heal, maybe coming back in, or are they trying to go for the timing? Unfortunately, the Blight is already standing on the hatch here, so Lori needs help. She needs assistance for this, but she gets mind-gamed around the shack, and this is going to be the double out now from Chronicles, but not going to be in time. And I think Lori has additional stages. That might be a tie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, we'll have to wait on a official confirmation from our scorekeepers. Yeah, I was gonna say I think we had 2 fresh hooks otherwise. So looking at a 30-30 here. So we're going to have a tie in set number 1 here between Chronicles and Survive with Bots. And we're talking about here in the group stage where teams are really having to fight through, making sure that they're trying to wrap up a spot in the elimination rounds. This is what you love to see.
This is incredible. We will stay on the Blood Lodge. We will stay with the Blight, and we are going to show you the rematch between these 2 teams. It's now going to be the opposite order, so Survive with Bots is staying on Killer's side, and they're coming out straight again. And this is going to be really interesting because we talked about it. These teams are so efficient here, so we are going to catch you with that straight after a little break. Welcome back, everybody, to the tiebreaker on Blood Lodge with the Blight here. So explaining real quick to all our viewers here how a tie is working in a Wolfpack tournament. You might watch DBD League. That's going to be a little bit different. They are moving forward into the next set. In opposite to that, Wolfpack tournaments are staying on the current set. It's now the alternating order though, so it is Survive with Bots now starting on Killer first, but we need a decision on the Blight set. Survivors are allowed to switch their roster, their perks, their offerings, everything can be freely adjusted here, but we need a decision on the Blood Lodge with the Blight. Very first hit is not finding the target onto the AC. It's coming out now, but already 60 seconds once again. So Chronicles is doing a really good job once again in the early game, and we have seen them being really efficient, and we are in the corrupted area, so this could be dangerous for our killer here.
Yeah, the one thing here, I was going to say, would be if Ace was going to be able to get back into main there and use that window. Unfortunately, had rotated more towards the center of the map here. So when you talk about having a down around the 80-second mark here, this is going to be a more central hook. Really going to hope for our survivors' sake that we do see a generator popping relatively soon, because we do have the Ruin still into play. So as we push survivors off of these gens, they are going to be starting to regress at that 200% here. So we see at least some regression off of the middle gen. We hear this gen back here behind Shaq also has quite a bit of progress as well. So honestly, now going to be able to monitor this hook while also monitoring a couple of gens. This is going to be really, really good pressure for our killer. Actually coming back, chasing down our Ace, going to go for this tunnel out process. And unfortunately, not getting the collision that they're looking for around the hook to be able to get the angle that they're wanting to be able to get the Ace. Ace now going to be able to use the window here at Shaq. Actually a very beautiful mind game there. Actually able to hold the vault, prevents it itself. Oh, but unfortunately now going to be hanging out around the actual Shaq, and this is going to be a basement hook if this is going to be the case.
The basement hook is going to be huge, but quite some time being taken once again here, and he was not able with having a long chase to keep the hook stages in the midsection, right? And that would be the difference to trial number 1 and 2 here, but a very nice tag onto Claudette here, the team captain of Chronicles. He's now also kind of zoned in this corner here, so this is going to be quite rough for Chronicles, and if this survivor here is taking a tag as well, there would be quite some pressure together with the Thanatophobia slowdown, and this is coming through 15% slowdown and a few heals to complete while Ruin is still up. This is going to be difficult now.
Yeah, and especially because now you know you have multiple survivors that have kind of been back this way that aren't doing the objective, right? They've been kind of trying to help prevent the tunnel out, trying to prevent the bait. What we are going to anticipate is going to be a basement hook. Get stunned, stupid, says Nia, as we do, unfortunately, not have the time to be able to complete, I'm guessing, going to be the heal they were trying to do back in that corner here. And at this point, going to feel confident about the pickup. Remember, Ace was the survivor that had already been hooked, so I'm not sure if maybe we were waiting out potentially DS, but this is going to be a second hook now in the basement, all the way back here. Only one hook to show for it right now. I can't help but wonder, where's our generator progress?
Yeah, the generators are not attacked at the moment, at least it seems like, right? And this is worrying because of that Hex Ruin that is still in the trial. If they were actually forced to leave the generators with this pressure, that would be all objectives regressing back to 0 here, so this will make a huge difference. It's also close to the shack, close to the basement, so this time the hook location allows guarding the survivor and the hex totem as well here. And if this Ruin is staying a little bit longer, and Zephyr, if you ask me, is doing a really good job at the moment to go a little bit away from shack, push someone off the gen, but not overcommitting to anything, back in time to guard the basement here. And if he executes that all the way into the elimination while keeping Ruin up, that is going to be one hell of a difficult mid game.
Yeah, I mean, we do see a second gen popping off in the distance here, but now with that lets us know that at least one survivor is over there. Unless that was the Claudette, we don't have two fully healthy survivors to be able to get the basement safe. So that is going to be the sacrifice at this point. Now going to be down to a 3v1, and now going to be able to at least get this pallets done here. Not sure if we're going to be able to have another survivor from the squad who can rotate over and complete this gen, because with Ruin still being in play, that thing's going to start regressing at 200%.
And this is really, that is, I was about to say, this is going to be the challenge for the mid game now. Find that Hex Ruin here. They have done that, so they can now freely attack the generators, but it's a huge difference compared to last game. We have 3 survivors now with 3 generators still standing. This elimination, what you're really, really looking for and trying to achieve throughout your game, has been successful into a very, very nice down onto Claudette in crime here. Very, very well done by Zephyr. What an attack onto the survivor here. And this is also a very beautiful hook location towards the top side here, close to our generators. I think you will be able to monitor quite some gens for that 4 or 5 if we include the top side generators there. There's a little bit of progress over here, but there's not much going on the side of Chronicles here. We can really see Saphir is coming into this tiebreaker set with a very different approach.
Yeah, and we do see going to be doubling right back onto that hook. We see we're going to be using these scratch marks here, trying to see if we can find ourselves this survivor. It doesn't look like we see any blood pools, so it may potentially be one of our fully healthy survivors. Oh, no, actually, I think that was actually, yeah, the Claudette back here going to do a nice job with the mind game in order to catch the Claudette out of position. Of course, the Claudette was just up on the hook. Question is that the decisive strike player? Looks like the answer to that question is going to be a big old unfortunate no. So this is going to be another hook stage here for our killer. This is going to be another survivor here now that could be removed with only just one more hook state. So you're really feeling the pressure here if you're feeling the survivors. We see this generator had a decent amount of progress on it, but now going to be losing 25% thanks to the pop. So yeah, you were able to cleanse the ruin. You don't have that active regression, but we are going to still see here the ability to get the regression with every consecutive hook.
Now going to move towards the back of main here. There's one survivor over here. Would be a great hook location once again. If you get the down here, keeping the survivor's top side will be really, really important. There's an objective coming out at this point. Also important to go for any points you can get, because if Saphir is not stopping this pressure anytime soon, we might face a 4K here, and then every single generator is going to be important. Unfortunately, no slap with the P here at this point of the map, and this is going to be the next elimination. 2 survivors still standing though. They might get another objective, but they might also consider an endgame play.
Yeah, I mean, especially here now that we're looking at both of these survivors are at this point fresh, right? So I mean, either of these survivors able to make an endgame play is a very, very big point swing. But the other unfortunate thing is right now when we talk about with only having 3 generators done, you would kind of like to get the end game play plus a generator, right? But unfortunately, completing a generator then gives away your location, so it makes it at least harder for one of the 2 survivors to make an end game play. So definitely understand the struggle that they're in. It looks like we have been able to find our Lori, trying to see if we can find an M1. Not going to be the case after the lethal rushes. Actually going to be a pallet right across the face, which does allow us to build a little bit of room here, trying to move up towards like this top right portion of our map. But we have already unfortunately used this pallet, so nothing in that pallet space there to be able to use as far as for distance. Now just going to be seeing an unfortunate shift W tech, I should say, through the middle here to just kind of hopefully build enough room to at least maybe finish this gen, or otherwise just see Nia setting up for the end game.
Now we do have Silent going down here. So Nia, I think really, really looking towards an end game play, right? Because you can make a point swing. They're actually a huge point swing. It would be 10 points going for your team there, and that is something you want to risk in a tiebreaker set. But unfortunately, this is going to be Nia located here, so she is forced to go for the unhook, and then once again trying to stealth, glitching to not take a hit here. Very, very patient on the unhook there. Well played by the survivor team. Going towards the shack there, spreading up immediately. Now once again the decision. Lori for an... And oh! Get behaviored! This is going to be not that much distance for Lori here, so this might end in a 4K.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation there, and I think Lori, understanding the situation that they are in, just kind of ready to GG, and let's hopefully our killer can come out and do the same thing, not moving too far away from that rock. That was a very unfortunate hit through the pallet, especially seeing as this was the survivor that was still fresh hook here. If you could have been able to extend this chase, maybe force an overcommitment, maybe get that generator over there finished, so that way your killer can at least maybe play into a 3-gen scenario. But with the way that it is now, that is not going to be the case. So our killer coming back in this next round is going to have to shut things down before the 3rd gen pops.
And this is a huge change, right? We are coming from a tie set of 5 stages into a 4K on 2 gens still standing. We're not talking about a game that was shifting a few stages or an additional kill or something. We basically talk about an entirely different game. And for Sephir to make that big of a step and change that into a 4K with gens up was really huge. And now the pressure is on Chronicles' shoulders. And I mean, just losing 3 gens is impressive, and it would once again only be the tie here. So letting only 2 gens go in order to take the win is going to be such a difficult task.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I love when we have the opportunity to watch series like this because it's the perfect example of what competitive DBD is all about. It's the difference is just a couple of mistakes, right? These two teams you had mentioned were tied in the last run back of this killer on this map with 5 stages. Both survivor teams played a very good trial. Unfortunately, I mean, I should even say the killers both did pretty good. They just weren't able to force the survivors into really any mistakes. Whereas here this time around, Zephyr able to force some mistakes. Even if it was just a couple of mistakes, we're talking about the difference of 5 stages to 12 stages at only 3 gens complete. That's honestly just kind of the spitting image of DBD, especially at this level when you make those mistakes, right? Hey, what up? I'm sure y'all weren't expecting to see me at this point in the video, but as we were watching this back, I actually realized and remembered that during the live stream of this, we actually didn't even get to sit in on trial number 4. Unfortunately, our producer had an internet issue, so we got disconnected. So I did jump into the VCs as far as in Discord and watch the games, a little bit of it, at least the end of it. Unfortunately, we're not going to have it as far as in the YouTube video here, but it was trial number 4 of set number 1, where Chronicles was out against Survive with Bots on the survivor side, and Chronicles was on the killer side, needing the 4K before the 3rd gen popped if they're wanting to win, before the 4th gen popped if they wanted to at least run things back another time. And unfortunately, a 4th gen did indeed pop. And not only did a 4th gen pop, but that was unfortunately the last gen to pop was the 4th gen pop. So we had seen the killer from Chronicles here had a very strong performance, but was unable to collect set point number 1, resulting in that being a set point win for Survive with Bots. So now Chronicles is in a tough hole. Are they going to be able to bounce back after running 4 trials and not getting a set point? Or will they fold in set number 2? Make sure y'all stick tuned and find out. All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog. We are going to be seeing the Plague coming out. Unfortunately, we did see as far as in set number 1, our survivors were actually able, or unfortunately, we were able to watch the trial, but I should say our survivors were able to get a 4th gen complete. So Surviving with Bots did take set number 1, but we are going to be seeing that killer back out here on the start set number 2 on the Plague. Gonna have to really want to bounce back, make sure you're taking set point 2. We see playing really patient early on, kind of doing more of the approach of we're going to try and get a little bit of extra tracking. We're going through all of our uncorrupt gens, getting the vomit onto those, trying to see if we can slow down the early game, which, to be honest, after getting a 4K on 4 gens and that being the downfall, I like playing things a little bit more slow here, right?
Yeah, the one thing I'm surprised about is that our Nia is already fully infected. That means she has been active while the rest of the team has been really, really passive here. And that's not making me the most confident here, if that is the right play. Because if your teammates are not putting time into the generators while your infection is moving forward and you're the only one working on the generator, that might backfire here. But we are about to find out. Nia is moving towards the main building and the chase is going to be dropped immediately here because the main building, first of all, really strong, and the corrupt intervention over there. So the killer is just picking up the power here, being really confident from set number 1, and Survive with Bots has good reasons to be really confident right here, right now. A dodge coming out from the power here. Very, very good move by the lorry. It's important that she...
She's a ninja! She vanished! No,
What?
for real, what happened? I'm so confused. We do see, though, coming back to the Tino, that getting the down here at this point, we do see Zet doing a good job of keeping the composure, finding the tracking right away, and then actually still being able to get the down, going to fight through this, actually rotating this up more towards the main building side here, as that was the gens that was uncorrupted.
Yeah, I think we have seen this little lag spike there in DVD League at the weekend, and we were discussing it as well. It seems to be a short lag spike of the behavior server, because it's just 2 or 3 meters, but it does throw the killer off a little bit. Luckily, Zed was able to really catch the survivor quite quickly here and get the hook stage in. He's now puking onto the generators here, using the Plague's power as an information tool, and I do think he has built himself a very nice setup here. You have this hook on the top of mid, you have a few generators around you, and I don't think this generator being completed there at the shack side is going to bother him that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at this point, you've got kind of a nice little setup around you. You don't ain't worried about one or the first couple of gens here. The biggest thing you want to do is really set the tone. We know that the Plague sometimes is more about the stages than about the eliminations. But if you can play yourself into a good early game here, we're going to be seeing a second stage force. That's one survivor that's already going to be on the edge of elimination if they do come in for the save. And with Suffocation Pit, kind of like we had talked about with the Blight, when we were going on the start of I think it was trial number 2, Blood Lodge didn't have the choke point that Suffocation does offer here. So if you can kind of keep a nice map setup, if anyone happens to move in, maybe get a couple of these pallets dropped, get a couple of, resources out of the way, start really creating these dead zones back here where you anticipate this end game can be, Zed's going to be in a really good situation.
Yeah, this setup the killers can build sometimes is really crucial for the win here, and Zed is doing a fantastic job. We do see another generator being lost, but it's not one in his setup here. He has a beautiful 3-gen on the top side. He can link that, if needed, into the one in the midsection. We do see the survivors moving in. One of them is catching the infection, but the puke will allow Laurie being saved. A is now low in a difficult spot, and you might just switch over to this survivor. That doesn't work out, but even if you catch the ace, it's 2 minutes of hang time, and I think in this case the survivors would feel really good because they can use that time to put it into the objectives here. So if there's no survivor going down anytime soon, and if it's not the Laurie being found anytime soon, then the survivors might make a turn here.
Yeah, I do like this play, though, from Zed. We saw trying to find that new fresh hook that you had mentioned, but Zed did see, unfortunately, that aggro was going to go all the way to that shack side. Wanted to keep an eye on the 3-gen. I like pulling the corrupt pool there. The only unfortunate thing is we haven't been able to see any value thus far, and as the survivors are going to start using those corrupt pools over on this side of the map, it is going to, of course, give us more use of power over here within this 3-gen, but now looking at only a couple of hook states, really needing it down, trying to get the shot off the rock. Nice job there onto the Nia. So you've at least got one health state change here. That does unfortunately mean with the cleanse, it is the only health state change. So if our survivors work their way back across this side, it is only going to be a 5% slowdown thanks to the Thanatophobia. Going to take a quick look around, make sure no one's around to be able to help us with the save. Going to just rotate the survivor into the middle of this 3-gen.
And this down here might make a huge difference, because if the Nia would have managed to work around, this is the last gen already. 3 stages by Chronicles. What a survivor performance. What an efficiency here on the Suffocation Pit. Yes, there's a power pool available, but even if Claudette and Crime is going down, they could save and have one of these doors on the bottom side going for 6 stages, which is still below average for the Plague on Suffocation Pit so far here in the group stage. Really good job. The no way out, though, is going to be a chance to recover here, because that is going to be 36 seconds for our killer. They are starting now. 40% of that are expired now, so it is going to be a speed run, because between survivor team and the killer here. But I can tell you, Q, our killer wants to get more stages here, because just 5 stages as it would be right now is not going to put much pressure onto Chronicles killer.
Yeah, now we're going to be seeing here picking up another use of the pool here. It looks like we're going to be just trying to confirm this survivor here as far as for the elimination. I mean, we can see the doors kind of a good distance away, so kind of an understandable situation. I do gotta say though, I feel like with the No Way Out maybe could have used a little bit of pressure onto the actual doors itself. Not going to be able to punish the survivors thus far. Going to be now hearing the door opening across the way. Oh no, and now we're talking about the save across the way as well. You probably, if you didn't commit to the doors right away, probably should just committed to the elimination. Now we've lost track of our survivor in this corner. We've got people all making sure that we've got to have 4 survivors all in trying to get to this door on the opposite side, right?
I think so. And what I'm really wondering about is the question you mentioned: why are you not committing to the doors if you have no way out, right? Because the survivors cleansed over here. They cleansed on the shack side. You have both exit gates over here. This is your chance for pressure and for the power becoming really, really intimidating. And he wasn't using that. He was camping this survivor, and then he left without getting another down here. This is now, though, the tag onto the ace here. So we will very likely see one survivor staying in the trial, but I don't think this end game was optimally played. There was the chance to apply way more pressure with that no way out, especially since the survivors have cleansed over here. So unfortunate for Survive with Bots here. Good news and huge by the killer to find that fresh hook here. So this is going to be 7 stages, which is now pushing us back into a pretty decent result though.
Yeah, you talk about getting the fresh hook. It was really, really big here. You were talking kind of heading into the end game while we had the one survivor on the hook kind of more in the middle of the map. We were just a little kind of like that average, what we expect to see from the Plague here. Whereas now, by getting the fresh hook in the end game, you're talking about being able to come out here on the killer side and at least leave trial number 1 with a 2-point lead, as we're talking about 17-15, right?
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting one because 7 stages on Plague can go either way, right? Especially on a Plague, if you cleanse too early on a wrong location and then you allow the power too quickly, that can really put you under pressure. On the other hand, if we have a very efficient survivor team, as we've just seen right here, it is going to be really rough to achieve these 7 stages. So there's really nothing we can predict here, and that makes the next trial so interesting. Chronicles, though, needs to win this. They are down by 1 set point, so we are going to find out what they have on their killer side, and we are going to show you after a quick break. And we are back for trial number 4 on the paper when we talk about how the score matters, in trial number 6 if we include the tiebreaker here. So these teams playing for quite a while now, trying to find out who is going to take the win here in the group stage. And right now it looks like Chronicles being in a very, very good spot. So this might be the 1-1 being taken, and we need the tiebreaker here. The first chase is going to start with our Kate. She will receive a very first puke, and the slow vault coming in to trick the killers. Not going to work out. This might be a very quick down here.
Yeah, this is going to be very unfortunate, especially since you're talking about having a pretty steep condition here. Already handing over a stage is going to be very, very big. We're talking around the 60-second mark. Now, we are going to see that we have someone around. Not sure if maybe that was a potential. We've been seeing some breakout getting shifted into the meta. Not sure if that was the case, but this is going to be a hook. Not just the hook in the basement, but I don't know what y'all call that back hook. They got some names for it. But unfortunately, it is the hook that is going to take the longest to retrieve this survivor from. So really good first hook for our killer here.
It's a really, really nice first hook, right? This is exactly what you're looking for, and this is going to give you some confidence for this set here, because you are under pressure. You need to get set number 2 for your team to push it all the way into the 3rd set here, and having a basement hook in that beautiful location is really, really going to make you feel really great. We do see the return towards the basement here. They have already been saved, and Kate will find herself being tunneled. Claudette is coming in as a meat shield, we could say, but this is going to be the very quick down. Now it comes down to the question, is there a decisive strike? There's not, so it's going to be the rehook into the basement here, and for just one generator, if it stays with that one, that's a very good deal.
Yeah, you gotta really hope that at least a second survivor has been just vibing, holding M1, hitting some skill checks, because otherwise, we know that Claudette rotated in, got the save. If they were on a generator by themselves, that gen did start regressing thanks to the ruin here. So you've got a survivor already on the verge of being tunneled out here. We've also been able to track down, I believe that is the Nancy there. So we are going to push them up to main. We see somebody rotating up towards main, kind of surprised to see us take the time to break the pallet here, but maybe instead just going to be trying to do the same thing we did last time. Alexa, set a timer for 15 seconds here. Try and see if we can at least cause a little bit of havoc at the top of the stairs with the body block. We do have more sickness being progressed onto our Adam here. Just past the timer expired, I would imagine. Not going to be able to see the pallet drop. Not going to be able to see this chase extended anymore. That means only one generator was able to be complete before we see our first sacrifice. We're at a 3v1, and you need to get stages out the door here. Yeah,
this is really, really difficult because we also have the full infection on all survivors here. We have the 15%. So this might be over here, Q.
Yeah, this is extremely tough here. You've got it down. We've got this generator next to us. That thing's a knocking. It's getting ready to get to popping. So with right now, at least the Ruin going to be getting that little bit of regression out. Remember, 200% is huge on Ruin, right? Even a gen at 95% would be regressed back to 0 if no one touches it in 2 minutes. So if you can get yourself a hook over here, keep this Ruin in play, maybe be trying to set up. I mean, we're going to be seeing a hook buried deep back on this main building side. So much control right now for our killer.
And this, we talked about it earlier, right? When they took the Blight set in such a, in a very, very nice performance. We were talking about how Survive with Bots is going to take that over into the Plague set, and as they are having an advantage of it. And now Chronicles is going to be the team that is coming back from that, taking set number 2, forcing us into the third one here with very, very strong performances on both sides so far. However this game is going to play out, the killer can be really proud of his early game performance. So this is putting Chronicles actually into the better position here.
Yeah, it's always that interesting, perception I feel like we talk about when you win the first set. Yeah, you have some nice momentum, but now if you lose set number 2, you're going into the critical set number 3. Kind of a little bit down on the momentum side. You've kind of allowed that momentum to kind of shift into the other team's favor. So, I mean, here we're going to be seeing a second stage now being forced onto our Adam. Not sure if maybe our survivors are trying to crank this gen out across the way to at least maybe get some valuable generator points done. But with the Ruin still being in play, the tag now coming in. Oh, it gets done, stupid. So that does knock out the last little bit of power that we might have still had left there, but not really too concerned about it. Michu here has another pull, just going to be able to continue this tracking back towards the shack. Not going to be able to find the connection here. I feel like maybe has given themselves the ability to overcommit if they wanted to here, but instead showing some patience, showing some discipline, and quickly rotating back towards this 4 gen that we still have over on this main side that is also being protected by the Ruin.
And yeah, I just realized, Q, that the Ruin is still in play here, because I was thinking about the difficult condition they have for their mid game here, and the Hex Ruin is just adding up to that, right? Okay, cast is cursed. That is on me. That is on me that this one is broken now. But you have the slowdown from the Thanatophobia. You have everyone being injured. You have the power available for our killer. This is just tough, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but I don't see Michu giving this performance away. He's playing really, really strong. This is the next elimination as well. We are on 2 survivors still in the trial here.
Spectator bug, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just going to be Chronicles taking set number 2 very likely. And I think for Survive with Bots, it's so important now to play this rest of the game in a really good way, to have a good reason to say to each other, guys, with the nurse, and there you need to be on point, right? We can pull this.
Yeah, I think the big thing is showing to one another and showing to yourself that you've still got some fight left in you. I think that's kind of what you're talking about there. I mean, we hear this generator back in this corner does have a lot of progress on it. Not sure if it's got enough that's going to be able to get finished. We see trying to go for the mind games around this pallet, going to be able to drop it, at least creates a little bit of distance, but we're stuck here in that back corner behind the map, so it's not much. It at least allows Claudette to get back here and start humping main, building just a little bit here. Now going for the swing at the little filler pallet, not going to be able to get it. So now serving the juice back here at main. If you can buy yourself a generator or two, those could be the small sorts of wins that you were talking about trying to get here in the end game.
And this is now a little bit of celebration already coming out by Chronicles Killer. Hopefully he won't celebrate too early, because there is a third set with the nurse. So celebrating here in set 2 is nice, but I'm not sure if that is not even adding to Survive with Bots forcing the comeback and sticking together and be like, you know, this guy is already celebrating in trial number 4. We are going to show him what we have in the back pocket for the nurse. So I'm really interested if this is going to backfire onto Chronicles here, the early celebration onto their survivor, their Sophia, the killer that was doing really, really well earlier. Is now the last remaining survivor in the trial here. They might go for an end game play. They might be located very soon. So it comes down to a bit of stealthing here. I don't think, though, no, it is not going to change things around if this survivor would escape, but it would be good for the mindset.
Yeah, and we do see here now at this point going to be grabbing this pool over on this side. I think what we're going to be just waiting out here, because I think we have Shack over, or we have basement, or not basement Shack, Hatchet Shack. I thought maybe we were going to be waiting over there, trying to just wait for the second stage to be forced, and then the subsequent missed skill checks to be able to force the hatch. But now instead, actually going to be coming up towards the top side of our map here. And I like this play by the survivors, maybe if it at least makes you think that they had to be over here. But essentially at the end of the day, your best bet is to try and make this play on the other side of the map, right? Is Nancy fresh or only one stage? I can't remember, but it's a nice little point swing if you can make it. It's kind of what you need with only completing 3 gens, right?
Yeah, it is now going to be the check into the locker here, making sure that Nancy is not close for the hatch. There will be the closer. I don't know where the exit... I think they're both on the top side, so if Nancy is sitting on these exit gates already, she might make a good escape attempt here. Both of them left and right side of the main building. Now it's going to be the interesting question, how's that with the line of sight? Has the killer a chance to check on both exit gates at the same time? And that's, yeah, this is actually disgusting.
Yeah, it has the ability to just hang right here. Keeps an eye. Not only does it, like, can you keep an eye on, like, the lights, but might even be able to see people making a move for the door itself, wait for some motion. Does look like, though, now at this point, Michu is going to go for that very common kind of plague tactic here in the end game, right? You kind of go back and forth. You're able to put a little bit of the sickness down onto the exit gate so you know immediately where they are. But now you have been able to notice, or you have been able to locate... Oh, our survivor here. That is going to be the down. And yeah, I'm not sure what resolution y'all are watching this in chat, but that does indeed look like a 4K to me. Really good job as far as wrapping up set number 2.
And this is going to be a huge point difference here for Chronicles. They're going to take the 28 for the 4K and Survive with Bots just with the objective points here. So that is going to be quite some difference here for set number 3. The Nurse, though, Q, a killer that doesn't allow any mistakes. And coming from a 43 to 21 from the second set, Chronicles with a huge point difference, with a huge comeback in set number 2. Are they stoppable in a Nurse set?
Well, I think the at least good thing that's working for you when we talk about survive with bots is you did take the other like S tier, and at least when we're talking about Nurse, you can kind of consider it to be similar. Obviously, the killer mechanics are different, right? The bump logic versus just being able to blink and really do whatever you want. But when you talk about on the survivor side, needing to have the patience, being able to have quick responses when you talk about your rotations and your communications and being able to keep those airways clear and positive during hectic situations. I think the fact that you took the point during the Blight set, even though you dropped set number 2, you can at least keep that as a little bit of extra motivating factor, right?
I think this motivation is something that will make the difference in set number 3. If Survive with Bots is able to remember their beautiful Blight set, if they remember their performance and their strength and make that into something that gives them a good base for this Nurse set, they can make that happen. Chronicles, though, will be in a very, very good motivational stage right now. They have pulled set number 2 here with a huge point difference. We talked about it. It is a 43 to 21, so they doubled the score here. Really impressive, and therefore we are going to go for the final set between Chronicles and Survive with Bots. This is going to be the Nurse on the cold tower. We are going to catch you after a small break.
All right, let's take another trip here back into the fog. Going to be starting off with Michu here on the Nurse, and it must say, looking down here in the bottom right hand corner, opting to come in with a very spicy build here. We see we're able to find our ace relatively quickly, not able to find an M1 unfortunately after our blink, so now we're going to go with the 2 across the way here. There's 1. The second's going to at least allow for the tag. Not sure if Ace happened to spot those totems that we have to just run by, but we're at least going to be pushing our way through here. There's going to be the second blink, not going to... Oh, it does find Ace! This is a down at like the 50-second mark.
This is a really, really quick down below the 1 minute mark here. And there's a totem leaving the trial zone. This is the Devour Hope. And I was going to touch on Devour Hope Q. I don't think Devour Hope is the play here because Cold Tower, every team knows these totem spawns. And there's no reason to go for something that risky, right? Chronicles is just coming out a very, very strong Plague performance here. And if you are now confident on your Nurse, there's no reason to take an RNG-related perk here. So unfortunately, this is going to be punished. And now a little bit of hesitation and panicking coming out. Too early swing there instead of the second blink. So for the survivors, a chance to recover here because the ace also seems to have quite some distance here. We do switch over to the near. 3 injuries across the board, but if this survivor is staying, never mind. This is our Nurse really confident.
So this is where I am. I know anybody who listens to you and I cast basically everywhere is going to be surprised. I'm going to disagree with you actually on the Devour Hope pick, and this is why actually. We're going to see in this case, they've already cleansed the Devour Hope, right? They were thinking that it was the Ruin. I'm sure that's the reason that they were looking for those totems anyways, right? So now you've got the Pentimento backing up your Ruin, so 30% slowdown on the gens, on top of the fact that they regress at 200% when you're not on them. Now if you can continue to keep these pressures of these hooks in the middle of your map and guard both of these totems, this could be extremely big for Michu. We're going to see actually now moving into the middle of our map. We saw one survivor a little more rotating back towards main, but Michu just going to kind of keep going back and forth, knows that at least the survivors understand where the Pentimento totem is. Kind of surprised they haven't found that Ruin totem. Is kind of tucked away in one of the little more hidden spots on this map here. We are going to see the hook, but if they can create distance and some room here, this is really what the survivors need to at least cleanse that Pentimento, but unfortunately that's the down.
Yeah, I have to agree with your disagreement.
She slaps him with the D!
This is the reward that you have disagreed for a valid reason. There's your D-strike into the for the people though. Quick down, quick punish onto Nova here. But actually, as you mentioned, the Pentimento and Ruin are able to punish the survivor team because surprisingly, you touched on it. This totem is not being cleansed, not even the Pentimento one, where the location should be known and available to survive with bots. This is not going to come out. Welcome to the basement, my friend. Nobody's down here. You can go back up, don't worry. They are on the generators though. But this is actually going to be really huge now. And if these survivors are not going to start with these totems very soon here, then the negative effect is going to be tremendous.
Yeah, especially seeing as Nia's back down on the ground here, right? We're about to be getting a hook stage here. Ruin's still in play. Pentimento still in play. Unfortunately, though, for you, you're talking about Nia being one stage away from not being in play here. So we're going to be seeing pushing up here. There are two survivors. Can't help but wonder why we have two survivors up here. You had mentioned our survivors should know where this Pentimento is. There it is, at least getting cleansed across the way. At least prevents the slowdown from being on these gens. But you're talking about three survivors plus a hook survivor plus a ruin. At least you're seeing generator number 3 getting popped out. But right now, our survivors really got to play this cautiously.
Survivors need a serious reorientation in their strategy here. They need to find a moment where they will be able to pull from the hook and go for a reset. But our killer now gaining confidence after confidence. This is going to be a trade with Nova here, very likely. No, the DH perfectly timed, but not finding much distance here. So two survivors slugged now. A very, very strong Nurse performance. Adam is being picked up. Might be the unbreakable cross the map there, so this would be another resource removed from the survivor team, and our Nurse seems to start an unstoppable dynamic here.
Yeah, and I mean, we find ourselves in the... I just love that we've seen just having the confidence, right? Going... Instead of worrying about, hey, I'm only at 3 hooks, I need to make sure that I get some of these fresh hooks, understands the importance of getting this tunnel out here. Going to continue our process. Not going to be able to find a hit, at least at this point, onto our Nia. But during all of this, while you leave the slugs, it requires another survivor to have to get off of the gens, which then causes the gens to regress 200% thanks to the ruin. Now with the Nia back down on the ground, far back here in the corner, maybe you've at least created enough space to be able to break up this generator spread up here on the top side of the map. I mean, we see they are at least able to take one of those out of the way here, as far as I think that was the top left corner. But I do believe I was wrong. I thought we still had a 3-gen on top side in play. So actually the survivors, even though you're in a 3v1, maybe depending on how close the gens are, could still have a fighting chance.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really interesting how this is played out. There is the chance, especially with the 3 healthy survivors here, if your next spotted survivor is taking a little bit, if they are playing careful, if they are leaving the generators early and maybe have a little bit of a longer run here, that could be the moment you're looking for to recover as a team. Michu blinking towards the bottom side, locating the Adam. This is exactly what we talked about, leaving the generators early. They are doing it. They are pulling the time from the Nurse here into Flashlight, not finding the burn on the Nurse. No, massive Daddy is taking a massive hit here from our Nurse, and this Flashlight is ending in a blind, actually. Really, really well played, but this is going to be a massive down. So 4 generators remaining, massive distance, but I do think a massive hook stage is coming in.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing it does create the space for generator number 4, but we've kind of been around a couple of gens here recently that we didn't hear too much progress on. So unless at least one of the 2 that is currently in progress has been on progress for a while here, I don't know if we're going to be seeing generator number 5 at least quite yet. We do see, though, the spread pretty wide. I mean, last time we were up at main, I don't remember any progress on this thing. We do see, though, a missed skill check. Not sure if that was one of those unfortunate where I'm about to step away and I get a skill check sort of scenarios, but we will see back behind us the broken status on the Adam here. So we are going to be moving through, not going to be able to get the hit onto the Claudette. So of course, after using 2 blinks, you get at least a little bit longer of a cooldown. So it takes and adds just a little bit more time with each and every one of these swings for maybe our survivors here to grind out generator number 5.
And this is going to be the next tag onto Claudette here. We need a good run, some time, anything for our survivor team. Q Hex Ruin still in play here. This is, I think, the first time for a long while that a Hex Ruin on Coal Tower is surviving the entire match, and it is also, on the opposite side, the first time that a Survivor team would manage against a Nurse on Coal Tower to get all generators done with a Ruin still standing, because usually that's a very powerful weapon. So that also still is a positive thing to say about the Survivor team here. Against a Nurse with Hex Ruin, they are close to manage all 5 generators being completed, but this run at the shack will be really crucial. The mind game is not going to work here. Edge map anti is going down. This should be the elimination if I'm not mistaken, but we might see generator number 5 being completed in exchange for this basement hook.
Yeah, and the I think that's interesting here is with this basement being further away, we do still have time to check on these two, but I'm trying to remember. It was the Atom, I think, that we had pushed off of the main building, which would have required somebody to rotate over. And this Ruin just really showing why killers will opt to bring it in. Time and time again, we see Ruin cleansed in 30, 40, 50 seconds. But sometimes you get these trials just like this where you get so much value. And I wanted to point out, you had mentioned, not only was the Ruin standing for the entirety of all 5 gens, but for quite a bit of that, our survivors also were fighting through 30% slowdown thanks to that Pentimento here as well. Now going to be seeing the Claudette down on the ground. Now the question is, what is the Ace up to? Are you on a door, or are you pushing your way for this basement hook? And for that reason, Michu is going to take a quick peek back here. Does look like actually opted for the save back here in the basement. Not sure if that means that this door back here in this bottom right side or bottom left side isn't prepped or not, but we see it looks like they've at least gotten the survivors out of the basement.
I mean, the problem is, if the Ace is not playing this optimally with the doors, it would be game over for this Survivor team, so they need to make sure that, hesitation coming out onto the Atom. This might cost a few seconds that are needed for the door here. Blinking for the top side, going for the slug here. If I'm game over, I don't think... Oh, they're actually going for the pickup. I was saying I would be happy to take any stages out of the door here after such a chaotic game, but they're actually going for the pickup here. That is showing that the Survivor team is also aware of their own efficiency and that they are aware of the positive fight they have put up here in this trial, and that they have pulled things back when they were really difficult. Claudette with a nice DH here as well. We might see actually some stages out of the door here.
Yeah, this is a really good job right now by the Claudette. Going to be, unfortunately, misreading which side of the tree that blink is on. Does look like Michu not going to settle for just going ahead and worrying about the one hook. Understands that our survivors are still pressed to not only get somebody off of the ground, but also get towards the door. It doesn't look like there is any progress, at least on this door. We're going to be seeing Adam trying to push down on the edge map here. Not sure if we've seen the Unbreakable come into play just quite yet. That might be a tool that could be at the dispense of our survivors here. But otherwise, I think Michu playing this smart and continuing to keep the pressure down, really forcing the extra decisions into the survivors, might allow altruism to be the end in Friends and allow for a 4K here in the end game.
But I'm looking onto that timer of Nova. Yeah, the one survivor is now going to be picked up. Both of them below the 2-minute mark. So this is another thing Survive with Bots can try to pull here. The bleed out ending in no additional points being awarded. Nova there going towards the 60-second mark at this point. And you are forced to go for the exit doors. So... if you check on the exit doors to keep the Ace in, you will lose Nova here. If you go for the pickup on Nova, Ace very likely is going to leave this trial. So this is quite a tough decision for our killer. I can only hope that he's not going to lose both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we do see we've been able to find the slug, but you've pulled over so far away from that backside door, right? Not so much as the one that's on the opposite side of the cold tower from you, but the one that's back by Shack. And even if it was the one up here by the cold tower, she would have had enough time to get out. We are going to see, though, the important hook, because I believe Game Over had already been hooked, right? So that would mean that with this one, you're getting the more stages out of the two. So I would consider that a win all the way around. Really strong performance here.
Yeah, it's going to be a two-stage escape here. 24 for Chronicles, 12 for Survive with Bots. So we do have Chronicles with a very, very good game. However, they do need some escapes on their Survivor game as well. They need 3 stages out of the door, and that's not easy on a Cold Tower Nurse. As we are behind schedule and we have another match, we are going to hop straight into the next all-deciding trial here. Chronicles needs 3 stages out of the door, and we're going to catch you straight after a short break. If this nurse is coming out really strong, that might be a quick game over for Team Chronicles here. We do enjoy the skin bug of the nurse here, though. I hope this is...
We'll need to probably switch views real quick and then switch back whenever they're not in the middle of a blink. But we are going to see, at least you found a survivor early, right?
Yeah, this is what we can see. I hope that this is going to be not for a long time. Our producer is going to switch over to the survivors in a second here to fix this. It's really, yeah, behavior is not making that easy.
Yeah, and we are going to see, though, I mean, at least at this point, looks like our survivor has been able to find themselves a little bit of safety here, which is going to be making game over. Have to come back up to the top side of our map. You know what's interesting that I can't help but point out is sometimes the bottom of the gas mask is above my eyes, and I'm trying to figure out how that works. Anyways, we do see, though, at least we've found ourselves one survivor here. That's going to be the Lori. Now going to be trying to see if we can find through 2 blinks. That's going to be the down as well. That is hook number 1 around the 90-second mark. There is still a ruin in play. But if we don't see a hook soon, that ruin could prevent, or not a hook soon, if we don't see a popped gen soon, that ruin could prevent generators not only 1, but maybe even 2.
Yeah, I don't know what our producer is. We won't see a switch to the survivor team, unfortunately, here. So this is going to be us enjoying this mask for a little bit longer, though. There's going to be silent with the injury, so this needs to be reset really, really soon here by our survivor team. They're getting into the next chase here. Pop goes to Weasel, still an option for our killer, but I think you do prioritize the survivor for now. And there's the producer. Welcome back. Game over is getting the down here. Now the skin is fine. So this is going to be the second hook stage into the game. Still on 5 gens. Makes you feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, feeling very, very good here. This is also going to be a second stage on this survivor, now buried back on the top side of the map here. And, I mean, I'm going to keep talking about Ruin still being in play. We do see that they were able to fight through and get generator number 1 done. However, unfortunately, I think when we saw back there, that generator is kind of close to where the ruin is. So if they don't find that ruin right away, we could be seeing this ruin come into play for quite some time in this trial.
Now going to be game over, pushing these survivors off the gen and then returning towards the hook again, applying the pop kick real quick. I kind of like this play style, keeping an eye on the survivor team and then coming back after the pressure has been sent over. Now they do get the unhook, though, so you do want to go for the tunnel out as quick as possible here. You want to cut them down towards 3 survivors, but that's a beautiful light and a lot of distance there for Team Chronicles. However, if Lori is going to be eliminated here very soon, we need at least 2 more generators being completed.
Yeah, and we are going to be, I mean, this is so tough, right? You're already following this survivor all the way out here. And, man, talking about with only having 1. I mean, at least the good news is the ruin, at least off the table now. So with this next hook coming across the board here, at least you don't have to worry about the regression on the gens from that. But it's a 3v1, and you've got at least a 4 gen still, if not a 5 gen. Up intact. Yeah, I would even still almost consider that a 5 gen, almost still like a light 5 gen on the top side of the map, with especially it being a nurse who can traject across the map the way that they can here. So really going to be big game over in a lot of control now. Here is going to be the tag onto the Nia. That is going to be the first health state change since the elimination. So now going to be getting the slowdown back onto the gen. 5% thanks to the Thanatophobia. We do see, though, across the way, generator number 2 getting complete.
And this is going to be tough for our survivor team now. With 3 generators still standing here, it is going to be quite some work that needs to be done, including the unhook. So one survivor will need to rotate over, and if then an additional survivor is getting into chase, that would cut down all possible gen pressure. They are quick though with the unhook here. 2 survivors over here. We are going straight after the Nia. Nice blink, applying the BT here, and game over. Will just proceed with the game plan, going for the tunnel out as quick as possible, and he's confident with that. Unfortunately, the lucky break is going to throw him off a little bit. Nia might... Oh, hello Nia, we just looked for you. Unfortunate move there by the Chronicles survivor. It worked out so well with the lucky break. Unfortunately, running back into the killer here. Game over. Knowing what he wants to do, able to achieve what he wants to do, and right now he looks really, really confident.
Yeah, especially with Nia here now being on death hook once they're taken up off of the hook that they are currently on. This generator going to be receiving another pop goes the weasel. 25% instant regression here, and this is tough. The things get so different once you lose your first survivor, because when you're in a when you have all 4 survivors in the trial, you have 1 person on hook, 1 person going to retrieve that hook. If you have someone in chase, there's still generators getting done, whereas that's not quite the case, obviously, when you're down to a 3rd person. We're going to be seeing going into the locker to at least prevent the M1. Nice move here to at least avoid the pool, but not going to be able to save their teammate by themselves. This is going to require the ace to have to come over here. Game over, going to leave the slug as well. This is very, very tough.
This is really, really close to a game over for Team Chronicles here. This elimination is huge. We see the nodding, and this is what I meant, Q. This is what I meant earlier when Chronicles Killer was celebrating in trial number 4. I was worried that this might backfire, and that Survive with Bots is going to be the team at the very end that is going to celebrate back onto them, and this seems to be the case here. Game over with a very, very outstanding Nurse performance so far. 7 stages, 2 generators still up. There's going to be the Deliverance, but the other survivor has been located here, so you do have a lot of information right now, and Claudette won't have the most time here until that she could go for 2 generators.
Yeah, I mean, you would need like a super juicer run here if you're wanted. I mean, even just hit like the 1 here, right? I mean, but unfortunately, you're needing stages out the door, so even just 1 generator, you need 2 gens, and we see, I mean, doing the best that they can. Oh, this is actually Claudette caught back here, now going down onto the ground. This is the survivor that was just recently on the shoulders. No decisive strike, though. This is going to be another hook stage. The question is, where is Ace, and are they setting up for potential hatch play?
Now going for the next hook here. Claudette in Crime back onto the hook. 2nd stage applied, and this leaves the Ace with a difficult decision here. And I'm not even sure if the fresh escape would be enough here, considering that there are 2 generators still in the trial here. That would be an interesting question for our scorekeepers in the background, because my brain is definitely not able to calculate that right now. Game over is just going to find the Ace, hopefully, so we don't need to do much mental sports here in the score calculation. He has done a really good job. We have to say that from the very first second, he has been really, really strong on his killer side. He had a clear plan about how to tunnel out the survivors and what he wants to achieve, and I think he was able to put up that game plan throughout the entire trial here, and he's getting rewarded for it.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing, I mean, now that's the sacrifice. The question is, where is Ace? Coming quickly back here. I was gonna say the cooldown, you'd still have enough time to... Oh, Ace, do you get priority? No way. Stop. No, you got priority. Game over has this, right? Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Game Over is going to be able to close the hatch here, which does mean that is going to spell the end for our survivors here from Chronicles. I'm not sure what resolution y'all are watching this in chat, but that does indeed look like a 4K to me, which I believe, as you had mentioned, you talked about the early celebration, and that should be Survive with Bots wrapping up the comeback.
Absolute phenomenal performance from Survive with Bots here. They're taking the overall 2-1, taking the win in this group stage match, and that is going to be really important because if you have Trauma and Reverse in your group, you want to have a win as much as possible here. For Chronicles, they still took a set point. They took a very, very good score difference earlier, so they are also going to benefit from this shake-up here into the 2-1. I think what we have seen today was a very nice match of two very efficient teams here, not handing out too much space to each other.
Yeah, it's man, this is tough, man. This is one of those situations where it shows. I feel like when you talk about this matchup, and I know we talked about this, I think, last week a little bit. I know we definitely talked about it over on the DVD League desk, but it's interesting to see it now kind of coming over into the Blood Moon League, where teams are just so close to one another. You know what I mean? The fight, you love to see the fight through 3 sets. And when we talk about how group stage works, I mean, this is definitely going to be very big. You had mentioned with the group that we are in here for Survive with Bots. I'm not going to say that Chronicles still can't turn around for the rest of their group stage, but they're going to definitely need to make sure they take home some lessons from today and at least turn things around, because they still have a chance, but it's going to be, they need to make sure they turn around in their very next matchup, right?
Yeah, if we're looking onto Group H, this is where they are located right now. We actually see that Survive with Bots push themselves towards the number 1, to the pole position. They have 18 points. They're standing 18 points better in the point difference than Reverse. Reverse is second with a win, and Trauma is third with 1 loss against Reverse, and Chronicles is on slot number 4 there with 1 loss as well, and 18 points less than Trauma. So everything is still possible, especially if you do take a set from Reverse. They also won over Trauma. This is able to push you back into the top 2 there for Chronicles. So Group H is really close together, and since all of them have 2 additional matches here, they can all make a huge turn. And even Survive with Bots, even though after a very good performance today, they cannot feel safe.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having this good performance, you can build off it, but yeah, definitely can't be feeling safe knowing that this was how close this matchup was. You talked about, right, with the other 2 teams that are in your group here. If this is how close this one is, you know you're going to be fighting tooth and nail through your other 2 games. I mean, still goes the same way for Chronicles too, which is why, I mean, you still have the ability to turn things around. So that group is definitely going to be getting spicy, but